All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again. This is Christina Krishman with the Nonprofit Partnership here with Anne Laguzza of the Works Consulting for our weekly HR check-in. And today's focus will be on, hey, what day is it? Signs that your team may need some TLC. We will also be answering your questions. So if you do have questions, please post them up in that Q&A box. We'll make every effort to answer your questions during the webinar before we log off. If any of them need direct answers to you, then we'll follow up via email with you. I just want to say that TNP is really proud to be serving all of you at this time. We honor each and every one of you who is continuing to work on those front lines. And for those of us that are working from home and staying safe, thank you so much. Thank you for helping to keep our community safe and still working. We heard from a lot of you that for a lot of organizations, your work has tripled. It may feel like quadrupled or quintupled, and that may be too. And for others that it's really just fallen off. We know that this is somewhat scary times, but we're here, we're all in this together, and we're here to support you through anything that you need. So if you do have a request for something or a resource or a connection that you're looking for, please know that you can always reach out to TNP. You can follow us on social media. I do recommend that as much as possible. We're getting out resources, especially on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages, as quickly as possible. So as we hear about funding opportunities, the loan information, the grants information for all of the webinars or affinity groups that TNP is conducting, we post that as quickly as possible up on our social media and also on our website. I want to thank the Josephine S. Gumbiner Foundation for sponsoring the webinars as well as these check-ins and enabling TNP to offer these to our community for free. So thank you so much to them for their support throughout all of this. And just want to thank everybody. We have 133 people that signed up for today's check-in. So we know that these are providing a service that you need, but again, if there's additional topics that you want to see covered in the future, let us know. If you're going to be joining us today, then that's great. You know what our topic is today. Is on TLC. Next week for our check-in, just to whet your appetite for that, we're looking at virtual onboarding. So for some of us, we're having to onboard new staff members, maybe even some new board members or volunteers. We want to give you a sense of how you can do that remotely, and you know, what are some things you really want to take into consideration when you make those plans with your teams. So join us for next week, same bat channel, same bat time, right here at TNP from 11 to 12:30 next Friday. And you'll see that go up on our calendar very soon, and you can register for that very, very soon as well. And one more plug, if you are interested, TNP has also launched a new interview series called Our Stories, Our Time, Stories of Resilience from the Nonprofit Sector. And those are live streamed on Facebook, but they are also posted up on our YouTube channel afterwards. So you can check out interviews that we've already conducted with the Salvation Army, with Urban Community Outreach, and with Arts Council for Long Beach. Today at 2:30, so after the webinar finishes today, take a little bit lunch and then join us if you can for our interview today with David Leonard, the Executive Director of New Hope Grief Community, and talking about how they've been able to shift some things and still support their clients, still support their community, but really understanding how the grieving process looks and kind of shifts during this pandemic. So they've made some incredible changes and still doing incredible work. So that is at 2:30 today. If you'd like to join us on Facebook and join our watch party, we'd love to see you. So without further ado, I'd like to toss it over to Anne. And Anne, thank you again so much for being here, and really looking forward to this topic today. I heard a lot of interest for today. So let's get some TLC going.
Awesome, thank you. So I am Anne Laguzza. I am the CEO of the Works Consulting. I've worked really closely with the partnership for the entire time I've owned my business, which has been 19 years. And I've been in human resources and leadership development for 29 years. Hard to believe. I actually posted on Instagram yesterday my very first picture as my very first HR manager job. It's very funny to find that. I don't know if anyone else is like cleaning like crazy right now, but that's what I'm kind of doing on the weekend and finding fun things to reminisce about. But I wanted to mention the way we're kind of doing these is I'm providing you with content, and it could be about 30 minutes or so of content. And then the last part of it is really for you all to ask questions. And it doesn't have to be related to the topic. If you have some other burning issue that's related to human resources or managing your teams, please feel free to throw it out there. I am not an expert in any of the loan categories, so that I won't be able to help you with, but I am happy to help you in anything about human resources or managing your teams. And something that I just want to sort of acknowledge the partnership about is I don't know any other organization that's doing quite the amount of work that they're doing to keep their members educated and informed. I work with a lot of other kind of association type groups, and they're doing one webinar here and there. They're the first one I've seen really doing so many webinars that are so relevant and timely. So I think that's pretty exciting, and I love being a part of it. So for those of you who just joined us, just a reminder, I mean, Christina said it, follow them on social. Please follow me on social. We try to provide you tons of information that's current and relevant. I swear it's not just pictures of my food, although you may catch a picture of coffee here and there. But for the most part, I'm really trying to give you value every single day. So today it's like, hey, what day is it? So when Christina and I were talking about this topic, I thought, oh my goodness, how many people have been saying that, right? And I have friends who say, who cares what day it is, right? It doesn't matter. But it is maybe a sign that our teams may need some TLC. So what we're going to talk about today is really looking at that aspect of management and what are some things that we can do to best lead our teams right now. Okay, this is the fun part. Okay, perfect. So if anybody remembers our camel who used to show up on Wednesdays, like, uh-oh, guess what day it is? And it was so funny to talk about it being hump day and Wednesday. And now we're just wondering what day it is. Is it Wednesday? I don't know about all of you, but yesterday was Wednesday to me all day long. And then I realized today was Friday all of a sudden. So it can get a little unnerving, but I do kind of try to live by the rule of it doesn't really matter what day it is. As long as I've got my calendar, I know what's going on. So we have a lot of people working remotely now. And by the way, this will apply to anyone who doesn't even have people working remotely. These are signs that you can look for. The thing that makes it a little more challenging when people work remotely is you can't see them as often, even though I'm hoping you're doing regular video check-ins, but you may miss some nuances that you would not miss if they were in front of you on a regular basis. So you must be getting so much work done. Well, okay. There's been a lot of memes and a lot of articles just came out this week about working in close quarters. I saw working in close quarters with your significant others. I saw working in close quarters with family members. I know people have roommates. Someone just told me they're in a roommate situation with 4 other people. So they've got 5 people in a roommate situation and they're quarantined together. So the thing about working from home is that it's not for everybody. And I know, so I started my business out of my home office. That's where I am today. Thank goodness I didn't remodel it and turn it into a gym because that was the plan. But I worked out of my home office for probably 16 or 17 of those 19 years. And I always get 2 pieces of thoughts about that. One is, oh, I wish I could work from home, right? And then I get oh, I could never work from home. It would be so distracting. Those are really the 2 thoughts that I would always get. So working from home isn't for everybody. So as much as some people might be thriving right now, they might be, this is my jam, but others are really struggling. And the other thing that I find that's very unique about this experience is everyone is experiencing it at the same time. And everyone is having a personal kind of stress that's happening as well as potentially a professional stress. So even if both people are still employed, we have them home more often. Even if one of them is an essential worker and goes outside of the home. If they've got children or family, the family's around more. They're now tempted more by laundry, and there's worry over grocery items. And are there gonna be items at the grocery store? And when's the best time to go to the store? And how long is the line gonna be? And all of that. So there's a lot of stresses that we're all experiencing simultaneous, which makes us so unique. I think that everyone's alertness is kind of at an all-time high for like, how do we stay safe, right? What do we need to do? How long is this going on? Is it going to be May 15th? Is it going to be longer? Is it going to be shorter? And there's a lot of like up, down. And depending on how connected you are to the news and what's going on, that's going to add stress for people. So there's a lot of areas that leaders need to be a little more aware of now that maybe we wouldn't normally need to be so concerned of or concerned about. And we just really want to make sure we're paying attention. So when home becomes the workplace, so some people really feel more isolated. This can be because there are people, I know plenty of them, that are literally safer at home right now alone. They don't have anyone that they live with. So they're by themselves. So there definitely is an increase in people feeling isolated. What's interesting is the statistics that was reported by SHRM, which is a Society of Human Resources Management, is that 52% of employees who work from home feel they have to work longer hours than when they're in the office. And right now, because there's not a lot else to do, depending on, you know, what your life looks like, it may just be easier to be like, oh, I'll just sit down, I'll do a few more things. Oh, you know what, I'll just kind of get ahead on this report. Oh, you know, I'll get my day organized. So people may even find themselves working longer hours than when they were in the office, which adds to that sort of that taking that emotional toll. And then with most activities shut down, right? So we've got all the schools and daycares closed. Really, there's not a lot of places to go. I don't know about you, but I'm just dying to go back to the beach. So the lines are really blurring between the personal and the professional, because where does it stop and where does it end, right? It's all sort of the same. You know, I, again, I'm very fortunate that my home office is actually behind my house. So I can literally leave my house, come to work, and then I can go back to home and I can separate those. Most people aren't doing that. I know many people may have a home office inside their house. Many are working from their couch or their kitchen table or a corner they can find, or maybe their bedroom even, if again, it's a roommate situation. So it's not just always ideal, and things are really blurring for people. And they're like, it's like they can't get away and get that relief. So in our current situation that we're in right now with the pandemic, employees may feel helpless and they may feel worried. Okay, so that's a lot of the stuff that can be going on. And like I said, there are people who are potentially thriving in this environment right now, and I don't want to discount that, but we're really focusing on those that might need a little more TLC. You know, I was thinking when I was putting together this workshop that one of my clients has a wife that's an ER nurse, and they have 2 young children at home. And they were telling me the whole kind of routine they have to go through now when she comes home, right? So she no longer can just come home and, you know, take her clothes off and, you know, get dressed casually and all of that. She's got to go through a whole routine now before she even comes in the house, to make sure that they've been extra safe and extra precautious, and they're not transferring anything from the hospital home. So, you know, that adds stress, right? That's just not our norm. And a lot of people are experiencing those additional stressors that we wouldn't normally have. So things to watch out for while working remotely. So here's some things that happen, right? There's no casual interaction with coworkers. You can't like, hey, let's run across the street really quick and grab a coffee or get a juice or something like that. I'm not saying people aren't doing that from their home now, but it's definitely more limited, as we all know. There are a lot more guidelines and rules, as we all know. And it's definitely different, you know, than just kind of, hey, how was your weekend? Oh my gosh, it's great to see you. I want to talk a little bit about what I'm doing this weekend. People may spend their entire day alone, including those lunch and breaks. So when they would even, maybe they would choose to eat alone, but they would be able to get out and interact with others. That's gone right now, right? So again, this is for those who maybe aren't at home with people. Your high performers may spend extra time working, right? Because they're going to be devoted to the job and trying to get things done. You may be more likely to notice a decrease in engagement or low motivation when working in an office. So they may be losing kind of their level of engagement versus when they're in the office, because they feel so disconnected and untethered. They may be navigating close quarters, like I mentioned, with their significant other, their roommates, their family. You know, I don't know about you. I don't know how many people your house was built for, to hold a school and 2 adults working at least, if not more. But some people are really struggling with that. Where does schoolwork happen? Where does my significant other and I, where do we work? there's a lot of those jokes going on right now about I had no idea how loud my significant other talked at work, things like that. It's really funny. Or who they become when they're at work, like their personality. It's very funny because it's so true, but it does really impact the working from home. And then they are more likely to experience burnout, particularly in this situation. That's been a really common thing. Again, not everybody, some people are thriving, but we're kind of focusing on those that are struggling. So what should you be looking out for? I'm just going to take a quick sip of water if you don't mind. To make sure I'm staying hydrated during this. So what should you be looking for? So how do you know that work from home is taking a toll? So there's some things we want to look for. So they might start missing deadlines, and this would be an unusual occurrence, right? Something different than what you normally see. You might see a decrease in productivity, that they're not getting as much work done for you. They might be late to meetings. So you set up a Zoom call, they're late, maybe they don't come at all. Maybe they're telling you, oh gosh, I'm not gonna be able to make this meeting. Pay attention to that if that's unusual behavior. So we're looking sort of for those shifts in the behavior that might be different. They may regularly reference pace, like, oh, things just feel so crazy right now. There's just too much going on. I can't catch up. Those are phrases you want to be paying attention to, that a sign that your employees might be kind of feeling that toll, right? That emotional toll taking over. Decision fatigue sets in. Oh my goodness. This is I am obsessed with decision fatigue. I even wrote an article about this on LinkedIn because I think it is so true. So they may say things like, I just can't make any more decisions, or I just don't have the bandwidth to handle anything else. Those are things to pay attention to. So you're probably familiar with Mark Zuckerberg and or Steve Jobs, and they were one supposedly in the past and one currently, but really believers in this decision fatigue, which is really a study where they said that there's a deteriorating quality of decisions made by an individual after like a period of time of having to make decisions. So there's almost like a limited capacity for how many good decisions you can make in a period of time, like a day, for example. So people like Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs wear very similar clothing. I think Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day, if I recall correctly, because it's one less decision they have to make every day. So it's like, let's minimize the amount of decisions I need to make so I can save all my brain power for the most important decisions that are going to be coming across my day. So your employees have a lot of decisions to make right now. They have decisions to make about grocery shopping, about their family, about who's homeschooling if they've got that situation. If they're isolated alone, about how are they going to keep themselves maybe motivated in general in life, upbeat. They're going to then have their own challenges with having to take care of themselves. They've got laundry piling up, right? So there's a lot of decisions. Now, were these decisions there before? Absolutely. But they're all in one confined space right now. And some of the decisions in terms of homeschooling, or yesterday I was just talking to an HR manager, and it was the child, her son was saying, oh, Mom, can I get a banana? She had to put me on hold for a second to help him get his banana. I mean, these are things that sound so silly, like, okay, so someone asking you for a snack shouldn't be that stressful, but it's just when it's going on all day, including work. So decision fatigue is a huge thing to pay attention to. I'm a big believer that this is a real thing, and it's something I do in my life I simplify lots of decisions so I don't have to make them every day. So I can really reserve myself for those important decisions. They may withdraw altogether. I'm starting to have clients call me and tell me that their employees are starting to refuse to work even remotely. They would just rather be unpaid, and because they just don't even want to deal with it. So that's important to pay attention to that, maybe have a discussion and find out if they're feeling that TLC from the employer, or is there anything you can do? And you may also find that there are some physical complaints, like they might be like complaining about aches and pains. They might have an increased irritability that you didn't notice before. They might have excessive worry, like people who are always talking about every conversation is right to either what the news has said, or about worry about getting sick, or about talking about how they're related to the pandemic in some way, like through, I know a neighbor who had a friend who got sick. You want to pay attention to that because that's probably taking a toll on them as well. And again, I know we mentioned at the beginning, I just want to mention it for anybody who's jumping in. Feel free to put your questions in the question box. I will get to them at the end. That's one of my favorite parts. It does not need to be related to what I'm talking about, although it's fantastic if it is. And then any other questions you have, I'm happy to talk to or talk about. So something else I just want to mention that happens with work from home, and what's important about this is that although you may not necessarily like actually say specifically that you're having a trust issue, your feelings and your behavior, I should say, your behavior to convey how you feel about the employee, and it can cause an emotional toll to be taken on the employee. So leaders may feel that their trust level decreases when employees work from home. Okay, so how many of you, you don't have to answer anything question, but just right now, I just wonder how many of you feel that and wonder, yeah, I got some trust issues. I'm wondering if that person's actually doing their work during the day, or I'm having a hard time finding them. I text them and they can't call me back for 30 minutes. And then they tell me they were on a phone call, or, and I don't know, I'm not sure, were they? So you may be wondering, like, what is my employee doing all day? I'm not sure. So here's something I want to mention to you about this is the employees you have trust issues with now, I'm actually pretty confident you had trust issues with them before. It's just more obvious now because they're really not even in front of you. So you don't even kind of come across them naturally during the day and can sort of naturally check up on them. So here's my advice for this is focus less on micromanaging them, because that doesn't motivate them while they're working from home, and it's not going to help you and it's not going to help their situation. But really turn your focus, sort of shift over towards what are your expectations? Have you set those clearly? And then you've got to hold them accountable. Maybe have them put together what they're working on, give you estimated deadlines, and then start working through that project list with them a little more consistently. Really focus on the work that's getting done and sort of the output, and focus much less on like, what are they doing all day? Or I don't think they're working 8 hours. I don't know about you all, but I find that many people are getting their 8-hour day done in 6 hours when they work remotely. Not everybody, but a lot of people find it's a little shortened because they don't have the natural interruptions that we have in work. We don't have the, hey, do you want to run across the street and get a coffee, which is a wonderful part of work, but it also does affect productivity, right? It's a balance. So it's really important for you to focus on the output, what's getting done. And if you're getting what you need, I'm less worried about how many hours someone's putting in. Again, I'm not negating any wage and hour issues, but I'm just saying if we're talking about an 8-hour day and someone can get their work done in 7 hours, more power to them. And if I feel like my employee could take on a few more projects, then I'll do that. But I think your trust issues started way before they ever worked at home. So really keep your focus where it should be. Don't worry about the micromanagement, set expectations, hold them accountable, focus on the output. Those are key factors there. So here's some stuff you can share with your team that they can do kind of on their own. And then I'm going to share some things that you can do for your teams. So ask them, tell them it'll be really helpful for them to create a routine. Nothing's better than still getting up at, whatever your time is. If you like to work out in the morning, doing a workout, eating breakfast, starting your day, whatever it is, when they take lunch, you might need to help them a little bit with that. Some of my clients have, especially for the non-exempt employees, they've been a little more clear on when they want everyone to go to lunch because it's just easier. So in my office, I have 2 other employees, and typically I don't care when they go to lunch. I don't care. I have to have them go before the end of the 5th hour by law, but other than that, it doesn't matter to me. But since we've gone remotely, our whole team takes lunch at the same time. And the reason is it's one less decision I have to think about all day, question, are they available? Are they not available? And it just makes it easier for me to manage. So I just said, hey, does anybody care? We're all just going to take lunch from 12 to 1. Everyone said, fantastic, let's do it. Great idea. And they actually all liked it. They all like it because now they're clear. Because they sometimes the day would get a little long and be like, oh my gosh, I got to go to lunch. I'm supposed to get out of here and make sure I clock out and go to lunch. And then other times it'd be like, well, I'm kind of hungry early. Maybe I'll go to lunch. And then their day got a little long on the other side. So feel free to help them set their routine. You're going to encourage them to set and stick with priorities. Distractions are at an all-time high. I can't say that enough. So you're going to really encourage them to get their day maybe mapped out the day in advance and really prioritize what has to get done and then maybe what would be a nice to do. Create and keep boundaries. You want to encourage them to do that, whatever that means. I have one of my clients that they basically told their, significant other in their household, like, listen, I'm working from 8 to 5. And if it's not related to work between 8 and 5, then I can't be interrupted. And that works for them. Okay, so that's a boundary they set up. So you may have to set, tell your employees, really encourage them. You don't tell them, it's not like you're directing them to do it, but like, hey, here's some things that'll benefit you. They may seem so obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people haven't even thought of it if they are not familiar. I mean, they're not familiar, one, with working from home. Then they have potential family members at home with them, and they're trying to, negotiate all of that. Encourage them to take short and long breaks. Encourage them to get outside and walk around the block, or just even walk up and down the street a little bit, or on their driveway. I mean, a little bit of fresh air is good for people. Encourage them to meditate, take a moment to deep breathe, stretch, stand up. I know I have my, Apple Watch reminds me to stand up when I forget, and I get up every time it tells me to get up. There's all kinds of apps out there that can help people with that. If they forget, they can set timers. I also have, I use this really cool time cube. I am obsessed with this, you guys. It's my new thing. And it helps me stay on track when I'm trying to do something for just a few minutes. It actually lights up. It doesn't even have a noise. You can have it make noise, but I love it. So that's what I'm obsessed with to help me stay on track. And then contact their supervisor for support. So say, hey, you know what? If you're having any struggles with creating a routine and you don't feel like you're getting adequate breaks during the day, or you're feeling really worn out at the end of the day, tired, I don't want you to feel tired, call me and let's talk about it. Let's brainstorm. So be there for your team. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some fun. So here's some stuff that you can do, that you can initiate for your teams. And these are tips, that I think that will help increase engagement. And then I'm going to give you a really cool example of something I found. Have some virtual live classes. So one of my clients, I love this. They are doing a healthy cooking demo in the middle of the day, in the middle of the workday for their team. And they're using this company. I put them up there, Nourish with Renata. She's actually located in Texas. She does she actually checked out her Facebook page and everything. She's does amazing cooking stuff. I've gotten to know her pretty well. So it's amazing, but she does a healthy cooking class. Now, your employees can cook along or not, because sometimes ingredients are hard to find right now, but it'd be fun. She's just doing a simple, for my client, she's doing a simple cookie recipe, a simple healthy cookie recipe with ingredients that are pretty easy to find right now, but people may or may not have them on hand right now. Another one of my clients offered a yoga class. They just did it by, again, a virtual. You can do a fitness class. I know another fitness instructor that's offering that to people. And she does it you don't even need anything. She's grab a couple of cans from your cupboard. If you don't even have cans, I don't care. Just do the moves with me. You could encourage them to meditate, relax. I put a couple apps up there that would help with that. And you could encourage them. You could schedule meditation or calming time or relaxing time or quiet time. Maybe that's one thing you could call it. Say, hey, you know what? I'm putting this on everybody's calendar. Every Monday from 11:15 to 11:30, we're having quiet time. That's a no email, no phone call. It's a you time. If you need to step out of your house to do that, hopefully they can. If you can just if you only can find a quiet corner, that would work. But those are fun things that you could do, that you initiate. Hey, you know what? I'm a part of this too. You can send a food delivery e-gift card. So I put this up on my Instagram stories over the weekend as an idea. I think it was on Sunday for people to do on Monday. I have gotten so much feedback from people who did this. So you can order a food delivery card in any denomination. It can cover a cup of coffee from Starbucks or wherever you like to go, or it can cover, lunch or dinner or something like that. I know I did it for my team and they were really appreciative, but people are giving me so much feedback. It's amazing. What I love about it, it's so easy. You just log in and you can send it via email or text, simple, and then they can order lunch for themselves, or maybe they'll save it and order dinner. You could go an extra step if you have it in your budget and make it a little bit bigger. Maybe they'll get a little more than one meal, or maybe they'll be able to, feed somebody in their food, get food for someone in their house. You could initiate delivery of like a midday coffee or beverage, you know, of some kind, like a iced tea or like I said, like a juice or something like that. You could set that up. You could order it from whatever, you know, again, delivery service you want to use, and you could send it to their remote work location and have it delivered at the same time. You can combine those with a meeting if you want. You know, we're going to do a lunch meeting, order your lunch. You know, we'll start the meeting at noon or 12:30 and we'll all have lunch together. Mail them a handwritten note. This is a great time to do things that are sort of old school. I don't know about you, but everyone seems to have forgotten a traditional phone call and even text messages. We're all doing Zoom now, which is fantastic. I love it. I love seeing people. But mail a handwritten note. Just tell them thank you for what they're doing. Thank you for something specific they did for you. Just something, any little note from you would be amazing. And then one of the things I'm creating with one of my clients right now is we're doing a work from home bingo. So you might see some of these ideas on social media. You just come up with a bingo card and it might be like, you know, took a Zoom call and they get to write, you know, they covered that square, right? Let's see, was able to find, you know, paper towels in the grocery store, you know, something like that. It could be silly, but you could come up with the different squares and you can make it a game that they play and say, okay, we're going to play work from home bingo. We're going to do it for the week. And then we're going to get together at the end of the week and, you know, see what everybody came up with or something like that. Or you could just do it literally during a meeting. You could say, okay, here are the cards and fill in as many of you as you have and see who has bingo. There's a lot of fun ways you can do it. So this is a great way to kind of keep your teams engaged. And remember, we can still have fun. It doesn't have to be so serious as, you know, the world is serious right now. We've got a lot going on, but we can have a little fun in there. So I found this on LinkedIn and I commented on it. And this is from, her name's Amanda Hill. She's a human resources professional at a company called Catalyst Biosciences. And I was already preparing this workshop. Christina and I already had our conversation. I was already putting together the ideas that I've heard people doing. And then she put this up and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sharing this. So I wanted to show you as an example. So they are doing a fun and friendly competition each week. They're doing a home office challenge, like they're doing the best home office setup and they're all sending in their photos. Week 2, they're doing a step challenge and they're using their smartphones to track. Week 3, they're doing a meditation challenge and they're using that Calm app that I told you about. They're doing a SIP photo challenge, which I had to ask her what SIP was because I wasn't sure and you all might know, but it's stay in place. So she said, you know, we're finding like a lot of our employees are taking some fun pictures when they're either out or in their house, of their dog, of their cat, of their significant other, you know, and she goes, so we're loving that. We're doing like, we're going to do a little photo challenge. And then week 5, they're doing a company event challenge. So when they all get back to their regular work environment, they'll have a company event, but they're kind of having a challenge of like, who's going to make and come up with like the best idea. And they'll vote on it and choose it. So I love this idea. I think it's well thought out. It's clear and it gives one thing for everybody to look forward to each week. And that's all you really need. You don't need to do something every day. You don't need twice a week. Just one fun thing every week. And if we think right now, you know, where we are, we're thinking May 15th is our date. Plan on that date and just use that as your guideline. And so we have about 4 weeks we need to take care of. So it's really easy to do and it'll really help your teams feel so taken care of. And them feeling valued right now is just one of the most important things. It is really the most important thing in my opinion. So here's some other action steps you can take. So you can reach out to the entire organization at one time and allow for real-time feedback. So do a all organization kind of Zoom meeting, if you will, or however you want to reach out to them. Administer small surveys. So this could be something you actually send out electronically, but here's something that we've implemented at my office, and I have clients who've implemented this, is we start all team meetings. So when we do an all staff meeting once a week, and my clients are usually doing about once a week, we do a quick 1 to 5 rating before we jump in. So 1, you're not doing so great today. 5, you're like over the moon, doing fantastic. 1 to 5, how are you doing? Because I want them to know, we want our employees to know that we care about them and they're more than just work. And we haven't forgotten that, okay? So gives you a quick picture of where they are. And if it's something that's appropriate to talk about publicly, you can, or not. You can just get your numbers and you can check back in with them after. You get all their numbers, and then you can reach out to them separately. Say, hey, heard you were at a 3 today, and I was just wanting to check in. Is there anything I can do to better support you? What do you need from me? I would check in with the 5s too and say, I'm so glad you're feeling a 5 today. That's fantastic. What do you think you're doing to keep yourself on the 5 level? And maybe that'll be some things you want to share with the team. Provide weekly guidance on self-care. And we talked about some of the ways to do that. So you can do that. You can provide stretches. You can provide a little yoga move. You can provide a deep breathing activity. Explain resources that you have available. If any of you have an employee assistance program, and I know some people have started to reach out to their brokers to see if they can get that added, that's where you can kind of have confidential access to a lot of services. Some of them are mental health related, but there's a lot of services. Many of you may have mental health services along with your healthcare, so you could remind people of that. But everybody need somebody to talk to once in a while, and best friends are good and family's good, but sometimes if your best friend and your family are with you all the time right now, you're over it. You want to talk to somebody else. So you may want to promote that a little more and let people know how to access that resource, remind them what it's for. If you do have one, they have phenomenal like intranet components, website, and you maybe want to spend a few minutes one day going over that and sharing your screen and showing all the resources that are in there. It's amazing. Tell the team what the organization's doing. How are you doing? I think there's a balance here. I don't think you should dump all your stresses and worries on the team, but you need to tell them what the plan is. What are you doing next? I know when everybody was applying for the PPP loan, I was like, share that with your team. Hey guys, I don't want you to worry, but I do want you to know that we've applied for this loan because we're going to try to get some assistance, and then maybe now if you didn't get the loan or you did get the loan, maybe you want to check back and just let them know, hey, great news, we got the loan. We don't know what that means yet. We'll keep you posted, or we didn't get it. From what we know, they ran out of money and unfortunately you didn't get it. But let me tell you what we're doing now. You want them to feel like you know what's going on and you're confident, even in a very unclear time. And that doesn't mean you have to make things up or be confident, but they just want to know they're looking at you more than they ever have for direction, and they want to make sure that you're not lost. So if you're unsure, you can certainly say you're unsure, but let them know that you're working on getting more certainty, and then take those steps that you need to. And then I don't think we talked about this on any call, but hold meetings just for your team leaders. So some of you here may not be the head of the team, like you might not be the executive director or whatever, but if you need to get your supervisory team together, just them without the employee level, and share across departments, what are we doing, how everyone's feeling, as well as what are you doing to keep your teams motivated? Where is someone having a concern? Does someone have a team member that seems like things are changing and we need to reach out to them, and how can we reach out to them? There's so much additional responsibility I feel like leaders have on them. Many of you have additional work responsibilities because you have a reduced workforce. And I think that leaders need to get together to support each other. And I want that should be initiated from the organization level. Okay, so I want to kind of talk one more thing here, and then we'll get your questions. So we need you to work on your communication skills. So great communication is at an all-time high right now. I can't tell you how important it is that you are communicating well. You have got to 10x your communication. So if you think you're a good communicator now, I want you to even figure out, if I was going to put a 10 times multiplier in front of that, what would it look like? Because people working remotely who are not as familiar with it will feel disconnected, and they just don't feel like they have their finger on the pulse. So, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one more thing about that. So there's 3 things I want you to just know really quickly. When you just use words, it's about a 10 to 15%, it makes up about 10 to 15% of communication. So if you only text or email someone, you have about a 90% failure rate of communicating effectively. Okay, so keep that in mind. When you add tone to that, so now we've got a phone call involved, we increase the communication percentage to closer to 50%. Okay, we add on to that 10 or 15 and we add to that. And now they have our words and our tone. We increase that to about 45 to 55%. It just depends. That's getting better, right? So we have a half of chance that things are going to go well, half a chance they're not going to go so well. Then when we add our body into it, or they can physically see us, or we're present ideally, but in this case, we can't be present, that takes us up to 100%, right? That adds the additional 40, 50%, whatever's remaining. So we get up to 100%. So when the more significant the communication, the more important it is that you do it in person, or what we have today is Zoom. That's as in person as we're getting right now. If it's more minor, certainly text and email is appropriate. But the minute you see the conversation starting to derail, you may need to go to the next level and put your tone on top of it and pick up a phone and give them a call. Just want you to keep that in mind, those percentages, because it's so critical right now that we don't just all lean towards email. And also that we don't over Zoom to death. And I love Zoom, but let's just call it video conferencing. We almost don't, everything doesn't need to be video conference. I mean, there are still some things that are very appropriate for email, very appropriate for texting, very appropriate for just a regular old school phone call. And you know, it's funny, I just want to mention this. I was talking to someone before I got on this call and we were laughing about, oh, you know, not for me, but for them, today was not a video conference day. So they could sort of dress however they want and they don't have to worry about, you know, looking super presentable. That might even be like a little gift you could give to your employees once in a while, is that maybe one day you call it video conference day, free day, video conference free day. And just so everyone could just be relaxed, you know, put your hair up, or, you know, wear your, you know, grubby t-shirt and your favorite slippers and whatever. And no one's judging for that one day. Maybe that's a once a week, maybe it's once every couple of weeks, something like that. So be creative. This is a time to take care of your team. They need you more than ever, and they need to know how important they are to you. So it's just important that you do whatever you can to stay connected. Okay, so with that, I am open to your question and answers. As we discussed, does not have to do anything with what we've talked about today, other than HR and leadership. I'm happy to answer anything else about COVID-19 laws, etc. And while you guys are putting your questions in the Q&A, I know we have a few, but I'm gonna see if you have any others. I did want to share something really quick. If you're already on my email list, you got this, but I created a quick guide for the new emergency paid sick leave laws. Sorry, my background is coming in. And the expanded family medical leave laws. It's a 2-page document, so you can double-side it. It goes over the qualifying reason, what the waiting period is, what documentation the employee's required to give you, what the duration of the leave is, and then how they're compensated. It doesn't give you every answer you'd ever want to know, but it sure does give you a lot. So it's a really like nice, simple way to clear up these laws that are overwhelming people in terms of the details. So if you want that, you can actually go to, probably Instagram's the easiest because they have the link in my bio and you can just click on the link and get it. If you're already on my email list, you got it today at 10 o'clock, it went out. And then another way you could do it, I do have it on LinkedIn. I think it went up yesterday. So if there's a video of me explaining it, so you can definitely grab it there. But I'm telling you, I love sharing it with you. We created it in our office because we were getting so many questions and I literally could not read through those regs, and I was trying to highlight what was important, but what's important to one client isn't necessarily the next question for the next client. So this way I could really access it. Okay, so let me jump into those questions. Will we be sending out the presentation? You always have access to the electronic presentation. Christina will send out that link. As she mentioned in the beginning, in case you didn't hear it, sorry, I just meant in case you didn't hear it, she did mention in the beginning that, you know, they're uploading a lot of things right now, but they will get it uploaded as quickly as possible. And it'll also be on their YouTube channel. So if you go to any of their social channels or their YouTube channel, it'll be on there. Oh my goodness, I apologize. It's a lot to talk nonstop. Okay, during this new normal, these ideas of supporting and nurturing our teams via virtual is great. Thank you. Oh, Richard, I love that you're always such a, like a little ray of sunshine on these calls. So I really appreciate that. And by the way, I think I mentioned this, but all of these ideas can transfer to when you get to work, back to regular work too. But Richard, I love that you're always here. Thank you so much. Let's see, how do you talk with staff to ascertain their comfort to come back to work and establish plan A, B, and C as we anticipate successive waves of COVID-19 in the coming 18 months? This is a fantastic question, and one I actually was thinking after next week, after we do the virtual onboarding, I was going to tell Christina that I think we need to start talking about this again. I talked about it in my very first webinar about managing a remote workforce. You guys may want to go back to that. It's at the very end. So you may want to go back to that, but let me talk about it a little bit here. So there are going to be a lot of, and Jennifer, if you get a chance, go to my Instagram story today, because I just talked about this today too, and I gave you some ideas. You guys have to start talking to people now about what their questions are, because they might have great questions you didn't even think of, what their concerns are, and what are they excited about? Because some people are going to be excited. Some people are like, I cannot wait to not work in this small little apartment anymore with my 4 roommates, right? But you want to start telling, I would just start opening that discussion. Like, as far as we know, we're still on May 15th as our, first potential return. We anticipate we're not going to be pulling everybody back at one time. We're going to be doing this in waves. We're working out what that's going to look like if you don't yet know. But I want to start the discussion, and let's have an open discussion. And I would go through those questions. I would say, so let's start with, what are your concerns? What questions do you have? Kind of those unanswered questions. And I just want to put this out there. You don't have to have the answers to those questions yet. It's perfectly okay for you to take notes and say, these are some fantastic questions. I want to answer them thoughtfully and carefully. So let me consider it, and I'm going to get back to you and tell them when you'll get back to them. And what are you excited about? I've been seeing, I saw yesterday a lot on social, people were saying, what's something you're looking forward to at the end of this, right? I love those conversations, because let me tell you, my list is getting longer and longer. But there are some very specific things I'm going to do as soon as we are allowed. I cannot wait. So, maybe that's sort of the excited thing. Like, maybe what are you excited about? But I think people are going to have some very reasonable concerns and questions. We're not going to have answers to all of them. I personally looked at some of the guidance that the president gave out yesterday, and I already had some questions about how that's going to relate to California. And I know we're going to get some guidance. So keep remembering, we've never managed through a pandemic before. This is everybody's first that I know of. I haven't run across anybody yet who's been through it. And we're doing the best we can. We're making decisions as we go. So just keep asking for your employees to be patient and keep your word on your commitment. And when you tell them you'll follow up, definitely follow up. I think that's great. And you guys should start working on those plans. You need to start looking at your teams, and maybe there's a few scenarios, who would come back first, who would be second, who would be third, in line. I love the way you said that, A, B, and C. That's amazing. Okay, love the weekly hustle. We use Jack in the Box online game for a family game, and Jackbox. Sorry, we use Jackbox online game for a family game event. We used it for a family member birthday. Oh, I love that. Tina, thank you for that suggestion. That is so true. There are some great online games that are really fun. Jackbox, and someone just told me about House Party, but I haven't checked it out, so I don't know if I hope it's okay for work. Play it first, make sure it's okay for work, but I love that. So Jackbox, you guys, write that down. Online game, you could do it with your team. It'd be fun. That's a fantastic idea. Thank you for that. One of the late night hosts also are doing formal Fridays. Could be fun. Love that idea. There's a lot of really fun things coming out of there. I love that idea where, I think we've got to be creative right now. Let's see, okay. And then how do we get on your email list? Oh my goodness. Thank you for asking, Stella. I appreciate that very much. You can easily go to my website. Here, I'm just going to turn this screen, but I'm not done answering questions yet. You can easily go to my website, which is listed there. It's theworksconsulting.com. You will get one of those annoying pop-up boxes, but it only pops at one time. Just put in your email information. I don't spam. You'll get one email newsletter a year, and you'll get some information about webinars, which are complimentary. And then you'll get something like you got today, which is a very cool quick guide, if I do say so myself. But if you want that quick guide right now, since I know my email list already got went out today, just jump onto one of my social handles there and grab it. Facebook, it's on Facebook too. I forgot about that. It's everywhere right now, because I just want you guys to have it and use it and love it as much as I do. I'm a weird person that way, but it makes it's something I didn't have to make a decision about. Back to that decision fatigue. Simplifying this just made my life 100 times easier. Seriously, if I had to read through 70 questions on the DOL site again, I was losing my mind. Do you feel that there can be over communication between employees and their supervisors during a time like this, or maybe a sense of too many back channel conversations going on? That's a great question. And that, I think, goes back to my point of like, everyone's turned everything into a Zoom call. It's like a 5-minute, hey, did you get that project done? We have to jump on Zoom. We use Teams in my office, which I love because we have a chat feature, we have phone call, we also do video conference through it. We do everything there. I can chat with the team, I can chat with individuals. I'm not pushing Microsoft. You guys use whatever works for you. But I do think that there can be a little bit too much communication. But what I would do before I pull back on communication, because people tend to under communicate, not over communicate, just naturally, even when we feel like we're over communicating, is check in with your team first. But don't check in a group setting where only you hear 1 or 2 people speak up and say yes or no for the entire team. Check in with each person individually, and I'd almost prefer you did it privately, just to give them an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm really trying to assess the amount of communication, and I really want you to feel informed, but I also don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So can you let me know what are your thoughts right now about the communication? What do you like? Kind of what's going well, and what do you think I could do better? You know, and maybe what could we do less of? So I love those questions, like what are we doing well? What can we do less of? You know, and what do we need more of, if anything? So yes, I agree that absolutely could happen. Oh, good. Thank you, Allison. Allison told me house parties totally okay for work. That would have been horrible if I just recommended something inappropriate. I don't even remember who told me about it, but I literally wrote it down on a Post-it note right here yesterday, because I love online games and I love interacting with people. So I'm excited to check it out. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. She said that my emails are worth it, and she got the quick guide and she thanked me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really try to give you guys all value all the time. That is my mission in life, is to make sure you feel like you're getting value. Oh, good. And Richard, you love Teams too. Good. I really do. I'm new to it. We've had it on Office 365 and I just never used it. And then with this situation, we had to go to something. And I have to say that chat feature is so much better than text messages. And I feel more like I'm having a conversation. And I also can tell, because there's colored dots to tell where your team is, if they're in waiting mode or they're active or they're not available, because it syncs up with our calendars. Oh my goodness, it's so nice. So I know right away where they are and what they're doing. So yeah, I love it. But you know, there's tons of other opportunities out there, and you guys can use whatever's available. Those are all the questions that I have here. Is there anything else that anybody has to ask, that you're sitting there going, gosh, I was going to ask, but I'm not going to ask. Oh, it's a stupid question or something like that, because no question's a stupid question in my opinion. As long as it's something I know how to answer, I'm happy to answer it. So if anybody else has anything, if you have a question, feel free to type it in there. We'll answer it. But I just want to tell you all how much I appreciate these webinars, and I appreciate you showing up. It means a lot to me in this time where I am truly an extrovert, as you probably could tell. And this is definitely challenging to have these safer at home orders, but I am doing my best through them, and these kinds of events are amazing. And like I said, I'm so pleased that the partnership has given this sort of opportunity and that we're doing these weekly. I love them. And like Christina said, if you want a specific topic, I mean, let us know. And even if it's not something we can do maybe a whole topic on, maybe it's at least a discussion point we could bring up and talk about. So oh, you guys are welcome. You're welcome.
I know I'm seeing more and more comments coming in that are just kudos to you, Anne, and I want to echo that. Kudos to you. Actually gave us some really great ideas and tips. We are on board for the Hustle Challenge. So we're really enjoying that too. And I think that, you know, really just echoing that the impact that this is having on everyone is phenomenal in various ways. So we're seeing some incredible work coming out of it. I think what I've heard a lot is how resilient the nonprofit sector really is, and those who work within the nonprofit. It's, you know, not to say that it's better than any other sector. Of course, I'm biased, but I don't mind being biased. But I think, you know, this concept of making sure that we're checking in with each other, making sure that we're looking for those signs, and early intervention is the best. So just checking in and saying, how are things really going? And really going. I attempted a check-in with a group, and most of them focused on what they've been doing for their organization, the day-to-day, and here's my update, and here's this. And I was like, thank you so much. Now, how are you doing? And really just focusing the conversation back to, we know this is impacting everybody. And I really want to make sure that we're as supportive as possible for everyone there, and trying to keep things light at the same time. So I love the idea of like incorporating games. For those of you that follow TNP on Facebook, we had a video showing us passing a mug as we did a Zoom call, and it just kept things light and fun and keeps us connected. And that's really what we're looking to do for all of this as well. So
I agree. What I was going to just add, one little thing is, the other day on Instagram, I challenged employees to check on, or anybody who has a supervisor, basically, to check on their supervisor, because we forget, like the supervisor is constantly checking in. But I said, ask your supervisor, how are they doing and what can you do to better support them? And the feedback was so fun. It was so fun to see the text messages they were receiving from their supervisors and the comments, and it was so great. So we all need to get checked in on. We really do.
We really, really do. And I know with that, we don't have any further questions that are coming in. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. The video will be up as soon as we can get it edited and processed. We will make sure to send it all to you and post it up along with those resources. And if you haven't checked out TNP's website, tnpsocal.org, you can access all of the prior webinar videos, the working remotely video that Anne did, which was our very first one. I think it was all the way, I love saying this, all the way back on March 16th.
I can't believe
just
that.
a month ago. Feels like a year, but it was just a month ago. And then, again, if anybody is interested, we will be doing this every week. So hopefully come back next week for virtual onboarding. And hopefully I'll see some of you at 2:30 today when we do our live streaming of Our Stories, Our Time, featuring an interview with David Leonard with a New Hope Grief Support Community. So again, Anne, thank you so much. Thank you to the Josephine S. Gumbeiner Foundation for sponsoring the webinars as well as the check-ins. They really are so wonderfully supportive in making it possible for TNP to continue to connect with all of you, for TNP to continue helping all of you connect with each other, and for providing the funding that allows us to provide these to you for free during this time. These are critical resources, and we look forward to continuing to provide those. So thank you everyone again. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay well, and until next time, we'll see you online. Take care. Bye everybody.